Hey everyone, and welcome back to Sidewalk Skyline podcast. On today's episode, my guest is Caroline Durocher Bergeron, and she's the newest of the directors in Mission Canada with the portfolio for Quebec and Francophone Canada. And so I just want to welcome you, Caroline. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. It's a delight to be here.
Yeah. Just by way of introduction, if someone does not know about Mission Canada, Mission Canada is an agency of the Pentecostal Assemblies of Canada, and we focus on five missional priorities in Canada. And for you, number one priority is Quebec and French-speaking Canada. Uh, for me, the priority is urban centers. What does urban ministry look like in Canada? The third would be next generation, and they're really not in any particular sequence. We just have our own is our favorite. Next generation would involve children and youth, and also campus ministries. So the Serve Campus Network is all across Canada on university campuses. We have Aboriginal or Indigenous priority, dealing with our First Nations, Métis and Inuit. And then we have newcomers or cultural language groups as the fifth priority. And that would include things like ministry to Muslims and other religious groups, ministry to people who do not have English or French as their mother tongue. They have come from somewhere else. And so that's Mission Canada in its priorities. And then what we do is we work in our priority to locate and equip missionaries. That's an old word that's fallen from favor, but it's still a good word. It just means that you're a person who has a particular mission. And so we recruit people to live in the gaps, those five priorities, and serve Jesus. So, let's get to know you. And I always like to start by asking our guests about their journey to Jesus.
Well, I grew up in a small community in Quebec called La Chute in the Laurentian. Yeah, I grew up with a mother that was sick with cancer, and she passed away when I was just before I was 9 years old. But she had such a faith in Jesus. She was a woman of prayer, caring woman, a loving woman, and my through I all as far as I remember, my mom has always been sick. What I remember of her. So growing up, being around a lot of hospitals and doctors and surgeons and just all this journey for her. I remember being very sick, but very still content and happy and just loving the people around her. And in her journey through cancer, it was very hard for my dad. So they split up before she passed away, actually. So it was a lot of instability in my life, a lot of not understanding what was going on. And but I remember the day my mom passed away, in the days I was not introduced to an evangelical church, so I had a I can't remember how they call it. In the Catholic Church, they had those rosary. I
Oh,
had
yeah.
a rosary, and I just remember at like 8 years old counting the beads and just praying, not really praying any prayers, like specific prayers, but just praying to Jesus. And I just felt His presence in the one of the hardest moments in my life as a child. And then I got introduced to an evangelical church with my dad, and just always been in love with Jesus. I remember that from that point on, and I remember going to camp. It was not easy with my stepmom. I mean, I'm a grown up now. I have compassion for all stepmom out there, but it was not easy for between me and my stepmom as a child. And I remember my dad sending me to a summer camp, and it's during that summer camp that I give my life to Jesus fully, and like understanding in an evangelical camp, understanding the salvation plan, and just what he's done for me. And I also got a vision of me speaking to a bunch of kids, and that they were coming to faith. And that vision took place when I pastor a church of 1,000 kids and youth in Haiti, about what have been 10 years later, after I got married and everything. So that was the journey of faith. You know, I grew up in a small community where I would walk an hour at minus 35 to serve in the church. Like my job would be to turn the overheads, you know, the overhead projector during the music practice, not even on Sunday, music practice. So I just had a lot. My home was so unstable that I found so much refuge in the church, in the house of God. And I taught my first Sunday school class when I was 13 years old. You know, I church was everything to me. Just loving the house of God, loving to worship with my brother and sisters. And you know, my church at the time was 30 people, so I was not in a big group. I didn't have a big youth group. I didn't have any of the bells and whistles. It was just guitar and overhead projector and Jesus. And I have just such fond memories of growing and persevering. God shaped certain things in me in that secret place, in that place that I didn't have that much support. But so my roots in Him went very deep, very early in my Christian walk.
Yeah. So your dad remarried. You had a stepmother, and you know, the good that came out of the hardship was that you found your solace, your strength in Jesus. What about any kind of negative impacts from a little girl, 9 years old, losing her mom? You know, how did that shape you? You know, in terms of just how you came to understand yourself, how you came to understand mothering and all that kind of thing.
Well, my dad didn't make good choices while my mom was sick, which led me to think, like to make a vow very young, I will never depend on a man. So when I started dating my husband of today, Pascal, which grew up in a Christian family, and I remember telling him, you know, the day you're gonna leave me with our 3 kids, I'm gonna be just fine. I'll make sure I make some money and I'll be good to go without you. And he looked at me like, what is going on here? We were just engaged. But that's all I knew, right? That's
Yeah.
all I knew. So it's just, but God has been so faithful in bringing a process of healing in my life. And I'm just so close to my kids and to my family. And God restored things with my dad. And he passed away now, but I loved him very much. You know, we're all human. We're all in a journey, and it's all these experiences keep us humble. We just need Jesus.
Yeah.
It's all because of Him. It's through Him. It's for Him. He's the essence of everything. He's the foundation of everything, and it gives me just a great level of empathy for people that are growing up in instability and start their life not quite sure, having a hard time to find their footing, right? Just their footing and how to launch in life with full on adult that are not only responsible but live from a place of their values and their dreams and what God has placed upon them. Sometimes the best thing we can do is to unpack wounds, unpack the past, so we can find healing And because when there's realignment with God's design in our life, realignment bring acceleration. It's not the striving, it's not working harder, it's just being aligned with how God has created us. So I had to rediscover that, and realign what God is asking us to do, which is his design for us. And when we get to realign with that, his original thought about us, not based on our circumstance, not based on pressure from the outside or anything else. This is where acceleration comes in with clarity, and we get to make an impact. Mm-hmm.
What about your journey to Pascal? You've been married now 27 years, I think.
I think 28 now.
28, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, tell me about that love story.
Well, Pascal was like the son of the superintendent, like he was not anymore. Dad was in the army now, but he was like up there. So he was the eligible bachelor of the POC in Quebec at the time. And I just couldn't care less about all of that world, like I just didn't grow up in that world. It's not, I highly respect his family now, their family to me. But back then, I just didn't thought it was a big deal, and I think he liked it actually. He liked that. I just liked him for him. So what happened is that at the time I was living with my youth pastor in Saint Jérôme, and he was a youth pastor in Saint Hyacinthe, and we were both leaders. I was my youth pastor and his family, obviously with his kids and stuff. So we had a gathering a few years ago at the Expo game. I don't know if there's any people out there that remember the Expo day when Christian would gather. And there's I'm there with my youth group, and there some of the students in his youth group that came and see me, and they look at me and say, "You would be such a great wife for a youth pastor." And they just grabbed me by the hand and pulled me to him. And I'm not a super shy person, so I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna go along with it. But it was kind of awkward a bit. I just didn't really let it be. And we start, chatting, and I noticed he was in Bible school and I was going to Bible school, and got to understand too that Pascal did all of his studies online. Those are the days where you did your Bible school. They send you VHS home, you would listen to it and you would return the VHS. Okay, those were the days. And he wanted to meet someone from Bible school, but he never actually physically attended Bible school. So the only class that he attended physically to Bible school, this is where we were in the same class. But before that, when we were at that Expo game, I remember the students look at us and say, "Well, you should kiss each other." It was just the weirdest thing. And then I turned around, I walked towards him. I was like, "Well, the guy that will want to kiss me will have to run a very long time." And I kind of turned away. And I'm not even sassy naturally, but I got sassy that day. Let me tell you that. And he liked it. I don't know. There's something to say, we'll see. So yes, that's how we met. And we kind of were studying in Bible school together, and God really began a friendship. And he proposed 4.5 months later. So, he knew what he wanted. He put a ring on it, and the rest is history.
Yeah. And wow, that's a great story. Like how weird that those friends would be, kind of pushing you on them.
And they say, "We want you to be our youth pastor's wife."
Yeah.
That, it doesn't have, they didn't really know me as much because they saw me as a leader, singer, stuff like that, right? So I guess they knew.
Maybe there was a spiritual gift in operation there. Just saying.
Yeah, probably.
And you and Pascal, you have three offspring.
Yes,
I was going to
3 young
say
adults.
children, but they're young adults. Yeah. Tell me about them.
Yes. So Emmanuel is Emmanuel's 17. Elliot is, and he could be a stuntman if he wants to. I think that's something he would like to do. Either a very cool barista, and coffee shop owner in an urban center or a stuntman, one or the other. That's Emmanuel. Elliot is he creates Christian rap actually in English, and he's 20 years old. And Samira just been approved to be a Mission Canada worker in the
Yes.
urban center as a missionary to the art industry, and she's a professional actor. She's just had such a heart for the art industry. She's just amazing heart for the lost, amazing love for Jesus, amazing heart for the LGBTQ community, and just have such an easy way to relate and hear them out and share her story and witness. She's just, they're all gems. I mean, I'm a fan, obviously.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so exciting to see Samira feeling that call from God to reach people in the entertainment industry. Um, Tell me a little bit about the state of Mission Canada in Quebec. Who's doing Mission Canada work? And I mean, you're just like months into this new role, so I don't expect you to be an expert. It takes years to really know this role because it's an odd one. But being a director, talk to me about Mission Canada in Quebec. Who's active right now?
Mhm, mhm. Well, we have Samira Bergeron, that is the newly sent, that is doing mission in Montreal, especially with the artist community. There's Carole Amico, and she is doing a tremendous amount of tremendous work, doing outreach with the community online. And Carol has been in there for several years now. We have Cal and Chrissy Cran that are doing great work in the inner city of Montreal, just being, it's like, I call them a neighborhood missionary. They're neighborhood missionary, just relating to people around, and serving the community, having coffee, just sharing the good news and being very incarnational in their community.
Mm-hmm.
There's David Ritz and Laura. Her last name escaped me.
Flanagan?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. Both of them are serving with Red Frogs and serving in university campuses, witnessing, bringing the good news of Jesus, but also just serving as when students are meeting for parties, they're
Mhm.
doing parties, and they give them waters, and they are there to be a resource, being a support,
Mhm.
being I would say more a lifeline, right? A lifeline, and they dare to go in an environment that are not very, where Christian don't go, where Christian don't go, but there to be Jesus and being available for people in their time of need. People that go in these kind of parties, they never know where they're gonna initially end up, and their state of beings, right? How are they gonna be? And many of them are just in that place where they can turn to Jesus in a moment of despair, or just need a hand,
Mhm.
need a hand, right? So they're doing just an amazing work, and we are continuously recruiting, looking for new people that just have a heart for Francophone Canada and for people in Quebec, to bring the gospel in ways that the church normally just doesn't do.
Mhm.
So it's really is there to meet the gap.
Quebec has had a 40-year, 50-year history of PAOC, initially planting churches
Mhm.
in various communities in Quebec. We had a French language training program back when I was in Bible college, and I actually had thought long and hard about it, but didn't go that direction. But as a result of those efforts, there were several churches planted in French cities. Uh, but the Pentecostal church in Quebec um, this concept of Mission Canada, while it's been growing and spreading in English churches across Canada, what are you finding among the French-only speaking churches in Quebec? Is it still scratching their heads and saying, Mission Canada, what is that? Or is there a growing sense of awareness in the French churches? I think one of the challenges when Cal and Chrissy were in your role in interim was that they were newbies to French language, and they're still learning. And but you're that's your mother tongue. So talk to me a bit about just how you see all of Quebec. We'll talk about Francophone in a minute, but in all of Quebec, what opportunities do you see, and what kind of reception are you seeing among the French pastors?
Mission Canada is still need to be explained, I would say, compared to Mission Global, which is pretty obvious.
Yeah.
But the conversation is one of learning and curiosity and just explaining. I really enjoy when we get to share practical examples, like the mission team that Cal and Chrissy are still hosting. That's really a win. It's something practical. Partnership development between churches, it's very key. We have a church in Saint-Hilaire. It was a replant with Nathalie Martin. She's the lead pastor there, and her partnership in the church with Alberta has been just a lifeline for the church, for her. So encouraging partnership, financial partnership, a partnership in prayer. It's so key, and it's a way to build bridges between people from different churches all over Canada to reach to their Samaria in Quebec. And so there's partnership development. There's also the Fit for Him program. Fit for Him program was very popular in the 80s. As you mentioned, we have not seen the same level of commitment necessarily, people coming, but there's still such an openness for that. So just want to explain, Fit for Him program is a French intensive training program for ministry, and it's a 1-year bursary funded initiative that covers tuition and basic living expenses. So participants spend part of their year learning French and part of the year serving a local Francophone church as an active staff. And it's a really powerful way to prepare the next generation of bilingual ministry leaders. That is something that's really on my heart. Our prayer is that young adult, and church leaders from every province would hear the call right now on this podcast, to develop and to come and to serve in Quebec. The mission field is really is ripe. It is ready. We have in a province of about 9 million people, less than 3% would say that they follow Jesus. And on a typical Sunday morning, evangelical churches welcome barely 1% of the Quebec population. So there's room for more work to be done. And one thing that always stirs my heart is that there are more than 700 communities in Quebec with no evangelical church. More than 700 communities with no evangelical churches. And that's close to 1.8 million people without access to a local gospel witness. So we need missionaries. We need people that will also partner with churches, that enable churches to do those kind of outreach initiative and projects to serve the community. There is a great amount of growth through immigration. And I would say it adds so much value to the church, because people that come in, it's not church once a month, it's church every week. And it boosted not only the attendance, but after the pandemic, there it brought such new life and new vigor to the church. And at our church, we are almost at capacity. We have to go. We think about going to a second service. I didn't make any. We didn't make any public big announcement, but we are growing, and God is on the move. We at our church we have people doing a outreach booth. Kind of ask me a question about Jesus. I'm going to give
Yep.
you free coffee just to engage conversation.
Yep.
So we see that more and more and more. There's more church planting in Quebec that has been stirred right now in this season than before. And there's an openness to the gospel from the Quebec population. And amidst, like, you got, Quebec is hard. It's a hard field. And I'm going to be honest with you. When I pastored in BC for 10 years, I really got tired to hear like Quebec is hard. Like just stop saying it's hard. But being back in Quebec, it's, I mean, it can be, everywhere can be hard. You know, it's not of that. There's can be opposition, but in Quebec, there is that, the secularism to a whole new level where last year, they tried to pass a law that would prohibit prayer in public. That's a problem. How do you even arrest someone for praying in public? I mean, they can be, how do you measure who's praying? So there was just such the government at the time was really taking for granted that this is who we are as Quebecer. It's all about secularism and pray in public and in private, but not in public. So we've seen a gathering of churches across denomination just that stood up and advocated for just freedom of religion, freedom of speech. And we've seen a lot of those laws that almost passed that did not pass because of the church standing up and rising together. And it's done a lot of good in relationship between churches, even the connection between churches. More churches gathers together to pray, to see the face of God, to talk about how can we better serve the community. So God is on the move in Quebec. I can talk on and on and on about it.
Yeah. I'm just thinking about you know, in the history of Quebec, of course, with the Quiet Revolution and the just strong reactions to Catholicism that really made a big space for the secularism to take its place, the religion of secularism, you know. But I'm also wondering about the state of the Catholic Church in Quebec. Is it continuing to disappear, or is it experiencing a renewal of its own as well?
It is experiencing a renewal of its own. We chose to walk in peace. We have done, for the last few years, at our church in Sherbrooke, we're doing the Marche du Pardon, which is the walk of the forgiven, if I can translate it. And we are walking with the different evangelical churches and Catholic churches from our church to a seminary up the hill. So that's about an hour and a half, 2 hour walk on Good Friday. We've done that for the last couple of years, and we do Station of the Cross as reflection. Just the stages, you know what the Station of the Cross. If
Yes,
people don't know,
yeah.
it's just like it's prayer and devotions around a theme of like Jesus carried his own cross, or Mary came to see her son, and it's very reflective. It's all about what unites us, not what divides us, and we are glad that we have saw that fellowship with all denomination, so that when we face laws that are there to oppose and remove religious freedom, we have friends that we don't believe all the same things, and we're very aware of where we don't agree, but we focus on what we agree and we walk together. And it's been just such a movement now with other churches joining us. I think last year we were 250, and we're expecting a lot more this year too, for Good Friday, the Walk of the Forgiven. It's a beautiful thing. And it's actually a witness in the community.
It sounds like it would be just a new story, a new narrative for Quebecois, to see that, the Catholic Church is not, the overlord with the big fist, but to see that they're more open to others. And then also the reconciling ministry of believers in Quebec saying, we want to recognize our common ground and walk out a new story for Quebec, Jesus in Quebec. That's beautiful.
Absolutely. And a lot of the younger generation, they don't have that baggage.
Right.
So it's more like baby boomers that have that. Oh, but I can tell you,
Yeah.
we had some opposition, and we had to just take time to explain to people that it's not about believing exactly what they're believing, but it's just we're just walking with them. We're just walking together, and we agree upon Jesus died on the cross for our sin, and that we need him.
Yeah.
And we are better when we are united than divided.
Yeah.
We if we can unite our effort to just reach the lost. And so it's been interesting because a lot of the younger generation don't have the emotional baggage that the older does. We want to honor and journey alongside the older generation, but just to have a movement of unity. There's strength in numbers, not for the sake of numbers, but for the sake of just the cause and the cross.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And there's different walks that also takes place, like the walk Marche pour Jésus. Not sure how they called it in English. Walk for Jesus.
Yeah.
Not sure. That's happening also in July every year. So we really seek to partner, to journey alongside other churches, to support them also, and Jesus is glorified in unity.
Oh, I'm so glad you're sharing this, because for a lot of us outside of Quebec, we don't know what's going on, particularly among French-speaking Quebecois.
Mhm.
Now we talked a little bit about Francophone, which means people in Canada, Canadians whose mother tongue is French, but they might live in Northern Ontario. They might live in the Maritimes with the Acadians. There's pockets across Canada of primarily French speaking, and each of those pockets would have similarity with the language, but probably a fusion culture, right?
Mhm.
It's not exactly the same as back home in Quebec. They're living out their Frenchness in another part of Canada, and then we have, you mentioned newcomers, a lot of French-speaking people that have come to Canada from French-speaking Africa, from France, from other parts of the world where French is their mother tongue. And so talk to me a little bit about that mosaic of Frenchness across Canada, maybe some things that you're seeing, and anything you want to highlight.
Yeah, my kids grew up in Vancouver, close to Vancouver, so they went to French school almost their whole, well, not quite their whole life, but all their preschool, elementary, and some of my kids, their high school too, and they're just in Langley, Surrey region, Lower Mainland. There was two high school of about 500 to 600 students. only francophone. If you think about it, that's high school. That's not even elementary. All of that. There's keep growing. I think they're at the second elementary school in Victoria in focusing on francophone. In the Northwest, in Alberta as a whole, there's more francophone in Alberta than there are people in the Northwest Territory. In Manitoba, people that are we're talking about broader francophone community, can be francophile, people from French heritage. But in Manitoba, there's approximately 110,000 in the province. So it's pretty amazing when you think about it. And I would say among a lot of the priorities, people understand that urban center is important and next gen is important, but the francophone in communities are often the one that's the most forgotten. People think, well, they can speak English anyway. If they're here, it's because they speak English. It's like, yes, but what if churches would have at least a small group where people can worship in French, worship in their mother tongue? Oh, at least express themselves in their mother tongue would make such a difference. It would be a win for the kingdom, a win for the church, a win for the people too. There's nothing like worshiping in your mother tongue and gathering and be able to exchanging, and they create just that sense of community. So our goal is to be able to equip churches to meet the needs of francophone in their community. And we know that pastors are very busy and leaders are very busy. So that's my job, that's my role, to see how we can equip leaders, pastors, even potential missionaries that would like to go there, to be able to reach the francophone community. Because they're there, and they're not always going to our English churches. But if they're French way, a French way, and a French environment, I would think it would be more irresistible for them to participate. So that's part of my role, is to help leaders to identify the pockets. We have tremendous work that's been done in the Western Ontario too, by our Frère Gilles that is there, and raising up leaders. We have people in the Maritime too, that actually both in the Maritime and in the Western Territory, there are people that desire to go to Bible school in French, to be able to start work in French, and they are in need of sponsorship for Bible school. So if that's something that interests you, that you want to invest in, or if you want to invest in any of the other Mission Canada worker that I talked about, please reach out to us, reach out to me. Would be happy to see how we can create these kind of partnerships.
Yeah, when you think about how one person investing their life in reaching the French community, that can multiply hundreds and even thousands of times.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Talk to me a little bit about French-speaking immigrants and refugees, and what are you observing about how that is shaping the church in Canada?
One of the biggest opportunities right now is for ESL ministries, because the government of Quebec have accepted people in immigration, but they need to have a certain level of French in order to have their citizenship and all. But they've cut a tremendous amount of funding to be able to train people in the language of French. So they're there, it becomes a catch-22. So what an opportunity for churches just to create, again, it can be in a small group format where they get practice French, but maybe a more structured ministry. Maybe you're retired, maybe you're here, you're listening, you're a retired teacher, and you said, I could teach newcomers French and help them to integrate. That is such a need. But I mean, the church has grown tremendously, and that's what we hear around. Things are happening in Quebec, in great part is just opening our doors to newcomers to Canada. I know that in the process of immigration, because a friend of mine is an immigration lawyer, when people come and immigrate to Quebec and they get that kind of support from a church community, they have more chance to get their visa, their cards, and their permanent residence. But also, it's a way to connect. It's a way to help join for us. We have a lot of churches too. They have a food bank or a way to connect. We have a ministry called Friendship Bridge. It always sounds, everything sounds better in French, Kevin. I'm trying to translate, but it doesn't it doesn't honor the title we come up with. But kind of bridge of friendship, where we have activities with newcomers to the community, but newcomers to Canada too. And we're gonna take them to Sugar Shack or do movie night or board game nights, and just to create a space for them to make sure that they find friends and they feel at home. But it's across the board in our churches. Churches are growing, of course, with evangelism, but also mostly because of immigration. And people come with tremendous, they add so much value to our churches. Some come already trained musicians, some are already bankers. And I would say something we've seen a lot at our churches, people can come with, I remember that lady, she was a pediatrician in her country, but come here and she had to do all of her studies to be really, I can't quite remember the name in English, but it's people just that support nurses, but they're not nurses, but that's like
Oh,
change beds,
our
change beds.
registered practical nurse, RPN.
Not even
Okay.
people that will
Okay.
help people with their food, and just
Oh,
like,
okay. Yeah.
just really, really entry level. But nurse, more than nurse, pediatrician in our country, you
Personal
can have
support worker, maybe.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. And
Yeah.
a bank manager arrive here, and he has to work as at the till at the bank, right? So there's just that they come with so much expertise, and that is not always recognized in their field where they work. But I was like, hey, we want to recognize you in the church. We don't want you to have to start at the bottom of the ladder at the church, at the same way as you have as in the field of work that you're at, and have to feel like you have years and years to catch up. So we have a process in our church where they have coffee with the pastors, so we connect with them, we have desserts, and we introduce the church, who we are, what we're about, our values. And after, we lead them into a 3-week training called I'm trying to translate it, it doesn't really matter, the identity course, some similar translation, and we help them discover their personality, their gifts, spiritual gift, and their secret pathways. And with that, that's something we keep in our data bank to have them ready to serve. So there's obviously a period of adjustment where when they choose to commit to come to our church, now we already have a database of who has the gift of hospitality,
Right.
gift of leadership,
Right.
gift of teaching. So that's one of the way we integrate them fast and get them equipped and launch them into ministry, which is a beautiful thing.
Mm. Hey, I want to be respectful of your time, because I know that you have a conference and you got to drive across the metropolis to get there. But one last thing I'd like to ask you about, and Vivid Academy and Belarus. I believe that in some of your leadership training and coaching work that you do, that you were recognized in Forbes, and so just talk us out a little bit with the work you're doing with Vivid Academy in Belarus.
Well, we have the Leadership Academy, because I coach men and women. I've coached pastors, I've coached leaders all around the world, really. But I created Vivid Academy for Christian women in leadership, that people that know that there's more to their life than what is right now, that they know that God has more for them, and they want to step out into the next version of themselves, because sometimes we're not where we would like to be in our life because we have not become the person that can steward it, right? It's same thing as church growth or launching ministries. We have not reached that level because we have not become the person who can be good steward of that. And it's all about self-leadership. It's basically, I've been in ministry for 28 years now. It's everything I wish I would have known when I started, and a lot about, discovering what God is, how God is creating you, how to optimize it, your life mission, life vision, then do it in a way that's sustainable. So we talk about boundaries, sustainable pace of life. We talk about longevity, soul care, all to make sure that people can discover what God's calling them to do, doing over a long time. And then there's a third module that is all about trading trading busyness for strategic fruitfulness, because we're all busy, but we're not necessarily fruitful. So we talk about how do we turn a dream, which is just an idea, into a vision, into a one thing, into a milestone. How do we integrate that into our schedule, our time, our energy management, all of that. And that is a 1-year certification that I offer actually in French. I've done it for many years in English. I still do some work in English. But there's been such a thirst in the French world for it. So this year I've launched my first cohort in French, and it's been the biggest one ever. I've also launched L'Espace Valeureuse, which is an online platform for French-speaking people, or people that would love to learn French, to practice their French. When I moved here, I found that there's not a lot of resources in French, and I've met so many people that have either written a book or have a special talk, a burden, something in their heart that they would like to share, but they don't have a website. They don't know where to start. So I've created this platform online platform to give a voice to women that maybe they serve as pastors in churches, or maybe not, but they have a message and they would like to share with others. So L'Espace Valeureuse, it's a membership. It's a 197 for a full year, which is really cheap. You have access for a full year. You have access to mentors throughout the year. You have access to video training on a lot of different topics, from egalitarianism to seeking healing. We're going to have one on deliverance. We're going to have one of outreach. We had one on setting boundaries. We had one on parenting and marriage. I mean, it's pretty much, I asked the ladies that I meet, said, what's your number one topic where you feel expert in? And they said, that's what I can talk about. So the conversation are very rich, and the goal really, it's to create resources and a platform for more Francophone voices to be heard around the world. And Francophone, mainly from Quebec. People that participate are mainly from Quebec. Often we get stuff from France, which we're very thankful for, but we believe that there is powerful voices in Quebec that can have an impact around the world, and around the Francophone world. So if they want to have more information, they can visit valeureuse with an s.com. And I can give you the link, Kevin. You can add it if you want.
Please send me links to everything that we've talked about, and be happy to put that in the show notes of the podcast.
Amazing.
Yeah. Well, Caroline, blessings to you and Pascal and your family. And I guess we'll see each other in Halifax in May when we're down there for our Mission Canada Workers Retreat. And
thank you, Kevin, for your time. Thank you for who you are, for what you do. You're a legend in the POC and in the urban world. So it's a delight to be sitting around the table with you.
Well, I always tell people the mythology about me is much greater than the reality.
It's the beard.
Yeah, I know, it precedes me. Oh, the guy with the beard. Yeah. Anyways, thank you so much, and look forward to seeing what God continues to do.
Amen. Thank you so much.
Hey everyone, I hope that was a meaningful conversation. On our next episode, actually our next few episodes, we're going to be featuring sessions from the Our City Windsor 2026 conference, where we talked about signs of unity. All of our speakers were talking about issues that deal with our ministry of reconciliation. What does that look like in our Canadian cities? So our next guest is going to be Brian Harrison. Brian is on staff at Parkwood Outreach Center, and his message is on Black history in the city of Windsor, and tying some thoughts about Black history to the upper room. And Windsor was a strategic location during the previous centuries as slaves were escaping to Canada through the Underground Railroad. And Brian's going to give us a great history lesson and talk to us about what reconciliation looks like. So come back for that next episode. Until then, I'm your host, Kevin Rogers, and you're listening to Sidewalk Skyline Podcast.